I never thought I'd be the guy writing something like this, but here I am. My name's Mike, and I've been married to Lisa for about 7 years now. We met in college, hit it off pretty quickly, and for a while everything seemed perfect. She was smart, funny, a little bitchy sometimes, but I loved her for it. We had plans, house, kids, the usual, or at least I thought we did. Lately, though, things started feeling off. Little things, you know. She'd cancel plans last minute, say she was busy at work, or that she was just tired. I figured it was work stress, maybe some burnout. She's in marketing, so her job can get hectic. But it wasn't just that. There were weird hours she'd keep, not answering her phone, and her stories about where she'd been would change. Small stuff, but enough to make me suspicious. Still, I didn't want to jump to conclusions. I love her, and I wanted to believe she was just stressed or hiding something because she was feeling guilty about being distant. Then last weekend, everything exploded. It was our anniversary, a weekend we'd planned months ago. We were supposed to go away to a cabin in the woods, just the two of us. I was excited, thinking about the break, the time to reconnect. But Lisa started acting strange the day before. She was acting evasive, avoiding eye contact, acting like she was nervous. I asked her if something was wrong, but she just brushed it off, told me I was overthinking it. Classic Lisa, always quick to dismiss anything that might make her uncomfortable. The day of our trip, I packed the car, and she was unusually quiet. When she finally got in, she sat there stiffly, avoiding my gaze. I pressed her a little, trying to get her to open up, but she just told me she was tired and needed sleep. We drove for a couple of hours, and I noticed she kept checking her phone, hiding it when I looked in her direction. That caught my attention. Something was definitely bothering her. We finally arrived at the cabin, and she was still tense. I figured maybe she just needed to relax, so I suggested we go for a walk, get some fresh air. She agreed, but her phone kept buzzing. I saw her glance at it quickly, and then she snapped the screen off and shoved it in her bag. My gut started to tighten. I didn't say anything yet, but I knew I'd find out sooner or later. I just didn't expect it to be so soon or the way I did. That night I was lying in bed trying to sleep when I heard her whispering on the phone in the bathroom. I was half asleep, but I caught enough to realize she was talking to someone, definitely not a client or a colleague. The tone, the way she was whispering, it was intimate. She kept saying things like, "I miss you and can't wait to see you again," and I swear I heard her laugh in a way that sounded more like a flirt than a conversation with a coworker. My stomach clenched. It was like a punch to the gut. The next morning I had to confront her. I couldn't sit on this anymore. So I asked her outright, sitting there with my heart pounding, "Lisa, who were you talking to last night? Who's making you act so secretive?" Her face flickered with annoyance, and she snapped back, "It's none of your business. Mind your own damn affairs." The way she said it with that bitchy edge made me realize she was already on the defensive. I pushed a little more, and she rolled her eyes, saying, "It's just work, okay? Some guy at my job, he's been bothering me, but it's nothing, just some stupid crush or whatever. Don't make a big deal out of it." That was the moment I knew deep down this wasn't just some fleeting mistake. It was something more. I could feel it in my bones. My wife, who I'd trusted completely, had been lying to me for months about her whereabouts, about who she was with. She was having an affair, and I was finally starting to see the truth. It hit me hard, like a freight train. How could I have been so blind? How did I miss all the signs? The late nights, the secretive texts, her evasiveness. It all added up now. This wasn't just some innocent flirtation. This was real. And it was with her boss, a guy named David, a guy she used to brag about being so close to at work. I stayed quiet that day, trying to process everything. But inside I was furious, devastated, and honestly feeling like a fool. All those years I thought we had something solid, and now I find out she's been lying, sneaking around, and cheating on me with her boss. I didn't know what to do next, but I knew one thing. I couldn't just let this go, not without some kind of payback. I'd been played for a fool, and I wasn't going to let her get away with it. That's where I am now, trying to figure out my next move, trying to not let the anger consume me, but knowing I have to do something. Because if she's lying about this, what else has she lied about? After that weekend, everything changed for me. I couldn't sleep, I couldn't focus at work, and my mind kept circling back to what I had uncovered. The betrayal hit deep, but what hurt worse was the feeling of being so blindsided. Lisa, my wife, she's always been a little difficult, yes, but I never thought she'd cheat on me during what was supposed to be a special occasion. Our anniversary, for God's sake, and with her boss, no less. I started paying more attention to the little things. Her phone, her texts, her social media accounts. She'd gone back to her usual routine after that weekend, acting like nothing had happened, but I wasn't buying it. I knew better now. She was hiding something, and I was determined to find out what. One night, I decided to check her email. I knew it was a bit invasive, but after what I found out, I didn't care about boundaries anymore. I needed to see the truth. I slipped my laptop open late while she was supposed to be asleep. I found her email account, logged in, and started digging through her messages. At first, I was just looking for anything suspicious, strange emails, spam, new contacts. But then I saw it. An email from David, the guy she'd been whispering about on the phone. It was from last month, and it was full of flirtatious language, suggestive pictures, and plans to meet up after hours. My stomach sank. I read and reread it, unable to believe she'd actually been that brazen. And there was more. Dozens of messages, all leading to the same thing, a secret affair with her boss. Not just occasional sex, but full-blown cheating. I felt like my world was collapsing inward, quickly and violently. I closed the laptop and sat there in the dark, trying to process the flood of emotions: anger, betrayal, heartbreak. I'd always believed in honesty and loyalty, and now I felt like I was living with a stranger. The woman I married was not the woman I thought I knew. I kept wondering how long this had been going on, how many lies I'd been living with, how many times she'd come home pretending everything was fine when she was out with David. I felt sick. The next morning, I decided I couldn't keep this bottled up. I needed to confront her again, face to face, and get some answers. So I waited until she got home from work. When she walked in, I was already sitting on the couch, her phone on the table. She looked surprised, then annoyed, like she knew she was caught. "Lisa," I said, my voice unusually steady, "I know about David. I know about the affair. I found your emails, your messages. How long has this been going on?" She froze for a moment, then scoffed and rolled her eyes. "Oh, really? You're accusing me of cheating because I had some emails? You're paranoid, you're just jealous." Her tone was dismissive, but I saw the flicker of panic in her eyes. "No, Lisa," I said, voice rising slightly, "I'm not jealous. I'm hurt, deeply. How could you do this during our anniversary weekend? During the one time I thought we could reconnect, you're busy sneaking around with your boss. How long has this been going on?" She crossed her arms, biting her lip, then finally spat out, "It's none of your business. I was just talking to him about work. It's not what you think. You're overreacting." I couldn't believe her lies anymore. She was so good at twisting things, she always was. I told her I knew about everything, her secret calls, her texts, the emails, that I saw her kissing him in her messages. Her face turned red with rage. She yelled at me, calling me paranoid, accusing me of invading her privacy, saying I was crazy to think she'd cheat. I felt a mixture of rage and heartbreak. How could she lie so easily? How could she turn this around and make me feel like I was the one at fault? That's when I realized this wasn't just about her cheating. It was about her trying to gaslight me into doubting myself. And that made me furious. I had given her everything, my trust, my love, and she threw it away for what? A guy who probably just used her for sex. The confrontation didn't go anywhere. She stormed out of the house, claiming she was done with me, that I was suffocating her, that I didn't understand her. But I knew the truth now, and I wasn't going to pretend it wasn't real anymore. I felt like I'd been hit at full speed, the ground giving way beneath me. I had to process all this, but I knew one thing: things would never go back to what they were. Not after this. The emotional fallout hit me hard. I was angry, betrayed, and honestly a little lost. I kept replaying every moment, the signs I missed, the lies she told, her bitchy attitude when I questioned her. I was supposed to trust her, and I thought she loved me. But now I see how little that meant to her. She was just using me, playing a game I never even knew I was in. It's a sinking feeling, realizing that your entire marriage was built on lies. I felt like I was drowning. After that confrontation, I knew I couldn't just sit around and let things keep spiraling. I had to figure out my next move, and honestly, I wasn't in a calm, think-it-through kind of place. I was angry, hurt, and I guess a little vengeful too. I didn't want to just walk away without doing something that would send a message, something to make her regret what she'd done. I'd always been the calm, rational type, but now I was feeling the need to strike back, to even the score somehow. First thing I did was gather more evidence. I started checking her social media, her phone, her emails, anything that could give me an upper hand. I wanted to make sure I knew everything about her affair with David. It wasn't just about catching her. It was about understanding how deep this went, how long it had been going on, and what she might be planning next. The more I knew, the better I could plan my own move. One day I decided to follow her. Nothing too obvious, just enough to see where she was going. I kept my distance but saw her get into her car, head toward a fancy downtown hotel. My stomach clenched again. So she was meeting him there. I knew I shouldn't have, but I parked a few blocks away just to see if she'd go inside. Sure enough, she did. My heart pounded like crazy. I told myself I shouldn't be spying, that I should just confront her directly, but I was too furious and too broken to think straight. While I was watching her go into that hotel, I spotted David's car parked nearby. That confirmed everything. They were definitely meeting up. I felt this rush of adrenaline mixed with a sick sense of satisfaction and pure rage. I was finally seeing the extent of her betrayal in real life. I snapped a quick photo on my phone, nothing too obvious, but enough to remind me of what I was dealing with. That night, I sat in my living room, going over everything. I realized I couldn't keep pretending I was okay. I needed to make a move, but I also needed to be smart about it. I wanted to hurt her the way she hurt me, make her feel just how betrayed I felt. I thought about confronting her again, but something in me told me to wait, to plan, to be patient, because I knew this wasn't just about catching her. It was about making her understand she'd crossed a line she couldn't come back from. I started researching ways to get revenge. Nothing illegal, just smart, calculated moves to make her regret her choices. I considered exposing her in front of her colleagues, posting her emails online, or even just making her feel the same heartbreak I was drowning in. I knew I had to be careful, though. I didn't want to do anything I'd regret forever. But I also wanted her to see that I wasn't going to be the fool who got played and then walked away quietly. And then, out of nowhere, I got another piece of the puzzle. I found out from a mutual friend at work that David was planning to tell some of his colleagues about the affair. The rumor was starting to spread. That was the moment I realized I had leverage. If I played this right, I could turn her world upside down, make her feel exposed, humiliated, and maybe even break her confidence. That thought made me feel a twisted sense of satisfaction, like finally she'd see what it felt like to be blindsided, to be betrayed, to be powerless. I didn't want to just ruin her professionally, though. That felt too easy, too petty. I wanted something more personal, something she'd remember forever. I started drafting messages, ways to expose her secretly that would hit her where it hurt. I knew she'd never see it coming, and that's what made it perfect. I was ready to go full throttle, but I also knew I had to keep my composure. If I slipped up, she'd catch on and I'd lose my chance. This was about getting revenge, cold, calculated, and precise. All of this was building inside me, this storm of emotions I couldn't fully control. I kept asking myself, is this really what I want? To destroy her like she's done to me? But honestly, I didn't care. I just wanted her to feel what I felt, devastated, humiliated, betrayed. Because if she's willing to cheat, lie, and manipulate, then she doesn't deserve my mercy. She deserves to be caught, exposed, and left to deal with the consequences of her actions. And I was just getting started. By now, I was more than just hurt. I was furious. Every time I thought about Lisa and what she did, a new wave of anger hit me. I couldn't believe I had married this woman who, just a few weeks ago, was acting like she loved me, and now I found out she was out there screwing her boss. That thought kept replaying in my head, making it impossible to focus, making me question everything. I kept asking myself what I did wrong, how I missed all the signs, how I was so blind to her lies. I knew I had to do something, and I couldn't just sit around feeling sorry for myself. I started to plan my revenge carefully, trying to think of the most effective way to make her regret everything. I didn't want some impulsive, rash action. I wanted her to feel exposed and helpless, to see her realize that I wasn't going to be the one who just took it lying down. That meant being strategic. I made sure to keep my evidence hidden, but I kept gathering more. I rechecked her phone, her email, her social media. I even set up a few fake accounts to bait her into slipping up. I wanted to see if she was still in contact with David or if she was planning to meet him again. Turns out she was. I caught her messaging him late at night, talking about their plans for the weekend and how she was worried I might find out. I felt this strange mixture of satisfaction and disgust. She was so brazen, so careless now that she thought she could hide it forever. One night I finally decided to confront her again, this time with a plan. I called her at work pretending to be a colleague who needed her to come into the office unexpectedly. When she got home, I was waiting for her, face cold, calm, but angry. I told her I knew everything about the emails, the meetings, the texts. I told her I was done playing nice. I wanted her to know I wasn't going to let her get away with this. Her reaction was classic Lisa. She turned into a bitchy, defensive mess. She started yelling, calling me insecure, accusing me of not trusting her, saying I was just jealous because I wasn't getting enough sex. That last part made me sick. She always had a way of twisting everything to her favor, making herself look like the victim. She told me I was crazy for even thinking she'd cheat, that she was just stressed, that David was just a colleague she was helping out. Her eyes flashed with anger and contempt. I looked her straight in the face and said, "I don't believe you anymore. I know about David and I know you're cheating on me. I've seen your messages. I've heard your voice on that phone call. How long are you going to keep lying?" She snapped back with her usual bullshit, accusing me of invading her privacy and making all this up because I was insecure. She told me I was overreacting, that I was crazy to think she'd do something so horrible. I felt this cold wave of disappointment wash over me. I'd given her everything, my love, my trust, my commitment, and she had thrown it all away. She was the woman I thought I knew, and now I saw her for what she really was: selfish, manipulative, a liar. It was like I'd been living in a dream, and now the nightmare was real. In that moment, I realized I couldn't stay with her. Not anymore. My heart was broken, but I also felt a strange sense of clarity. She wasn't going to change, and I wasn't going to waste another second pretending things were okay. I told her I wanted a divorce, not in anger, but because I knew I deserved better. She sat there, furious and dismissive, saying I was overreacting, that I was just jealous. But I wasn't jealous. I was hurt. I was betrayed. And I was done. That night, I stayed up all night trying to process everything. I knew I had to get out, but I also knew I had to do it smartly. She was dangerous when she was angry, and I didn't want any more drama or lies. I started packing my things, planning my exit, making sure I had my evidence ready to use if she tried to manipulate me further. I knew this wasn't just about ending a marriage. It was about reclaiming my dignity and moving on from someone who had so completely betrayed me. As I packed, I kept thinking about all the good times. Those were gone now. All I had left was this bitter taste of betrayal and the realization that I'd been a fool for so long. But I also felt a strange sense of relief, because now I finally knew the truth, and I was ready to start over, no matter how much it hurt. The day I finally left wasn't easy. I packed most of my stuff late at night, trying to keep it quiet so she wouldn't find out before I was ready. I didn't want to give her any chance to manipulate the situation or turn it around on me. I took only what I needed: clothes, some personal things, my laptop, and left everything else behind. I knew I'd have to face the fallout later, but I couldn't stay in that house. Not after what I discovered and what she'd done. Before I left, I made sure to leave a few clues. I hid some of the evidence I had, like her emails and texts, in a secure folder on my external drive. I wanted her to find it eventually, to realize she'd been caught red-handed. I left my phone on the kitchen table with some messages already sent to a lawyer I'd contacted earlier that day. I wanted her to know I was serious. I wasn't going to let her lie her way out of this anymore. When I finally walked out that door, I felt a mixture of relief and emptiness. It was like shedding a skin I'd been wearing for years, finally free from her lies, her manipulations, her betrayal. I didn't look back. I just got in my car and drove away, leaving that nightmare behind. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, but I knew I had to do it for myself. The only way I could start healing was to cut her out completely. Over the next few days, she called and texted relentlessly. At first, I ignored her, but she kept pushing, trying to guilt me into coming back, saying she was sorry, that she loved me, that it was a mistake. I knew better now. I knew she'd lied for months and that her apology was just more bullshit. I responded only once, saying I needed space, that I wasn't interested in her excuses. That was the truth. I wasn't going to let her play the victim anymore. I also started reaching out to my friends and family, letting them know what had happened. Most of them were shocked, mostly because Lisa had always been charming and manipulative, hiding her true colors. They told me I deserved better, that I'd be okay, and that I should focus on myself now. That was a big help. I realized I'd been lost in her web of lies for too long. It was time to rebuild, to find myself again. The hardest part was dealing with the emotional aftermath. I felt angry, humiliated, and deeply betrayed. Trust is everything in a marriage, and I lost mine completely. But I also felt a strange sense of empowerment. I was finally free from her lies, her manipulation, her constant bitchy attitude whenever she didn't get her way. I started therapy, just to process everything and get back on my feet. It helped a lot, talking through my feelings, understanding that it wasn't my fault, and learning to forgive myself for not seeing her true nature sooner. Looking back, I realized this experience taught me a lot about myself. I learned that I'm stronger than I thought, that I deserve honesty and respect, and that sometimes you have to lose everything to understand what truly matters. I don't know what my future holds, but I know I won't let someone else's betrayal define me. I'm taking it one day at a time, trying to heal and trying not to carry the pain forever. For anyone else out there going through something similar, trust your gut. Don't ignore the signs. And if you find out your partner been lying, cheating, and manipulating, don't be afraid to walk away. Because no amount of love or loyalty is worth losing yourself over. You're better than that. You deserve someone who respects you, who's honest with you, and who won't stab you in the back. I hope sharing this helps someone out there realize they're not alone and that you can survive this. It's been a few weeks since I left her, and honestly, it feels like I've been thrown into a whirlwind of emotions I didn't expect. Some days are still tough. There's that gnawing ache of betrayal, the frustration of everything I lost. But most days I find moments of clarity. I start to see that this chaos, this pain, was a wake-up call I desperately needed. I spent so many years giving my trust blindly, believing in the woman I thought she was. Now I realize that sometimes the person you love isn't who they pretend to be. Living with the betrayal revealed something else to me: how important it is to put myself first. I've learned to set boundaries, to stand up for myself, and to recognize the warning signs before they get worse. I've also learned that forgiveness isn't about excusing what she did, but about freeing myself from the anger that was eating me alive. I'm not there yet, but I'm working on it. Most of all, I've come to appreciate the simple things: being honest with myself, rebuilding my self-esteem, and surrounding myself with people who truly care. I've started dating again, cautiously. No rush, no pressure. Just taking it one step at a time, knowing that I'm better off without her. I don't hold any bitterness about the affair anymore. I just feel relief that I finally see the truth clearly. There's a certain peace in that. Looking back, I wish I could tell my past self to trust my instincts more, to see the signs earlier, to not ignore that little voice that warned me something was wrong. But I also know I had to go through all this to get where I am now. Sometimes, you've got to hit rock bottom to truly appreciate what it means to rise again. I've learned that I deserve honesty, respect, and someone who genuinely loves me, not just what I can give or how I can fix her problems. To anyone reading this who might be in a similar situation, know that you're not alone. It's okay to feel broken, angry, or lost. It's also okay to walk away, to start over, and to find happiness again. Trust takes time to rebuild, and not everyone is worth your time or your tears. I found out the hard way that loyalty and integrity matter more than any fleeting moment of pleasure. And I know now that I'll be okay. I will survive this betrayal and I will come out stronger. This isn't the ending I expected when I first got married. But it's my ending now. One where I take back my life, my dignity, and my peace of mind. And I'm finally learning how to live with the scars of betrayal without letting them define me. Because at the end of the day, I'm still here, still standing, and that's what matters most.